guys, Jenny with On Fire Fit, and welcome to another episode of Shoe Review. In these shoe reviews, these are shoes that have been sent to me by viewers who asked me to review them. And so I will give you a little idea of what I would wear the shoes with, maybe a few outfits that I pair it with, and just kind of my overall thoughts on the pair of shoes. But as you know, I also love to have a message. So we will talk a little bit before the shoe review. Today is word review, but first let's look at the shoes. I'm trying out a few different formats for this shoe review. So I'm going to give you a little quick up close of the shoe, and then later on I will do the review. But I love these shoes. They're kind of a blush. I would consider them a little bit rosy, but I don't know if let's see if the side of the box actually calls the color. They call it natural. Whoops, sorry, I'm not in the view there. They call it natural. So very pretty. I will review these in a few minutes, but beautiful pair of shoes. But first let's chat. The reason I picked word review along with shoe review is because a lot of times I think we are not really paying attention to our words and what they actually mean. And one day when I was walking, I was thinking about this because from time to time, people will use a particular word when they come to one of my social media sites, and I don't think the word is used in the context that it's really intended, and so I don't take offense to what they say and how they use the word, but I do think it's really important that we pay attention to our words, because our words really define a lot about the way that we think and then how we act. And so the word that I am going to review today is worship. Now, I grew up going to church, and the word worship just to me always meant to pay attention to God. And in the last few years or so, I will have people come to my social media platforms and use that word in context to my feet and that type of thing. Now, I have followers here that are in my Bible study, that go to my church, and so I don't want to offend anyone by this topic. And I also know that a lot of my friends who maybe think differently from me or are not really in the same circle that I'm in normally might also take offense. And so this has been kind of one of these delicate topics for me, because I tend to be a people pleaser. I don't want to offend people. And so sometimes I'll just shy away from a topic out of that discomfort. But I want you to know I do not intend to be offensive to anybody, and I don't intend to talk about things that make people uncomfortable. However, I don't see this as having to be uncomfortable. It's just more of a different way of looking at something. And I do want to challenge those of you who are in my Bible study or church that you perhaps may be worshiping something other than God as well, just as I do. And so as much as it's easy to look at other people and think that maybe they're off track, I think more importantly, we have to look at ourselves and see how we can apply it to ourselves. And so in this topic today of worship, when that word has been used with me, I really believe when somebody says, oh, I want to worship your feet, or something like worship your shoes, worship, I think what they really mean and intend by that is that they're showing appreciation, or that they think something is beautiful. And I'm sure there are some people that take it farther than that, but I do think that a lot of times that is actually what they mean. I don't think they're trying to sound like offensive toward me or something, But I do think that the word is very important word, because when we really think about worship, what does it mean? It means what we are putting all of our focus and attention on. And in my world, I have found that anything that I focus on a lot, and some of you will recognize this little topic, hyper focus. Anytime I hyper focus on something and let a lot of the other things that are really important in life sort of go to the back burner, I always lose my peace. I lose my purpose. I get very easily discouraged, because anything besides the object of our creator, the one who made us, the one who really deserves our worship, our focus, our attention, anything besides that always turns out empty. In a moment, it will, whatever it is, might feel, I don't know, like a dopamine hit, we call it, because you're feeling like a moment of pleasure, or it makes you happy for the moment. But in the long run, it's very empty. And so I think that in this context, if we think about worship, is where do you put your ultimate focus? Where is your ultimate attention centered? And that is really what we should use that word, and really think clearly about where we are doing that. I know that in my own life, as well as people that I coach and my patients that I take care of, worshiping food, worshiping a diet, because if you replace that word worship, it's hyper focus, extra focus, obsession. There's a huge obsession with food and diets and weight and all of that kind of thing. So you can just replace that with worship. Is that something that you're worshiping, because you're putting so much attention and focus on that it's kind of drowning out a lot of the other things? And interestingly enough, the people that really do obsess over that usually are not that healthy. Usually they either are still having issues, and I'm putting myself in this, so I'm not pointing fingers, but you still either end up with issues because you're so hyper focused, your body is really not that healthy. We can do things within boundaries and take good care of ourselves without it having to be a hyper focus that actually causes other problems. So I'm using that particular word because I think it applies for a lot of people with food or diet or exercise. Other areas where you may be hyper focused would be things like work. You may worship your work, or money, the ability to make money. Maybe your driving force, the center of everything. And if there's one thing we've learned during all of this virus crisis, is that none of these things are stable. People are losing their jobs, they're getting cut on their hours, people are losing their health, people are losing their ability to do things that they normally do. So all of the things that we usually worship are proving themselves to not be very stable. And so I think that when we really think about where our focus and attention is, I think it's important that we really look at what is the driving force in our life. Where do we point our attention? One thing that I do fairly frequently, and I'm trying to really not allow this, is when I feel discouraged, I tend to look inward. And when I get discouraged and look inward, I lose my peace and joy so fast. And what is that? That's worship of self, right? It's a focus on myself. And it always leaves me feeling like I'm in a pit. And sometimes it'll take me even a couple of weeks to fully snap out of it. And I have some beautiful friends, my wonderful husband, my mom, people in my life that really help me to recenter and refocus. And they're very compassionate and understanding about that. But it is very easy for us when things in life hit us to go inward and look into ourselves. And we forget that if we just center our attention on God, He's our creator, He's our provider, He's the one that knows how to guide us and lead us. once we take our focus back off of ourselves, stop worshiping ourselves, and we turn it toward the right thing, the right one to worship, suddenly, all of a sudden, the mood is lifted. It's like completely eye-opening. And every time I go through that process, I think I don't ever want to deal with this again. So I have to keep it very fresh in my mind. But I notice that it happens for me, that worship of self, when I allow discouragements, doubts, and what I call the little foxes to come in and destroy the vineyard. There's a part in the Bible, in the Song of Solomon, or they also call it Song of Songs, where the reference is kind of interesting because sometimes people interpret this differently. But basically, the guy who is Jesus is saying to me or to you, get rid of the little foxes in the vineyard that are destroying the fruit. And to me, the little foxes are those little distractions, those little doubts, those little things that pull my attention. They might not be a big roaring lion, a huge giant thing in my face, but they're the little foxes, the little things that take my attention away. And I have to draw my eyes back to the one and stop letting all of those little things keep pulling me off track. And so we have to remove those little foxes, get rid of those distractions and doubts, and center ourselves on the one. There's a really beautiful, I've used this in the past multiple times, beautiful translation of the Bible called the Passion Translation. Today when I was reading, it is a very familiar, maybe to you if you have any connection in the past to the church, the Lord's Prayer. But the Lord's Prayer read from the Passion Translation just hit me differently, the wording, and I really think that it had so much to do with this idea of worship. So I'm going to read it to you. Jesus said, "Pray like this: Our Father, dwelling in the heavenly realms, may the glory of your name be the center on which our lives turn. Manifest your kingdom realm and cause your every purpose to be fulfilled on earth, just as it is fulfilled in heaven. We acknowledge you as our provider of all we need each day. Forgive us the wrongs we have done, as we ourselves release forgiveness to those who have wronged us. Rescue us every time we face tribulation and set us free from evil. For you are the King who rules with power and glory forever. Amen." I love this. It's so focused on God being our provider and our King and the one who rules. And that when we do this, we can trust him to forgive us, help us to forgive other people, rescue us from tribulations, set us free from evil, and all of these things that I think we all need every day. I had been so incredibly blessed that twice today I got the same message from two different people, and it really reminded me of where my focus always has to be. One friend of mine who I believe he refers to himself as an atheist, I'm not sure, I have to double check, but I'm not going to name names. I'm just going to say that he told me today that he sees all the comments on my different platforms and how sometimes they're not very respectful, or maybe they're really not in line with who he knows that I am or what I stand for. And he said, don't let it discourage you. You need to continue to shine your light. And especially coming from someone who thinks differently than me, it was such a blessing to hear that. So I just want you to know that that meant a lot to me. Plus, I want other people to know sometimes you're going to get affirmation about where your attention and your focus should be from unexpected sources. So I was really blessed by that. Then another friend on social media, and he's a Christian, and it seems to have been for a long time. I haven't asked him, but he told me, continue to shine your light. And I thought, wow, twice in an hour, I got the same message from two different people. And it just reminded me that when I let all the little doubts and distractions and those things that turn me inward toward myself, where I'm actually focusing on myself, worshiping self, that it dims my light because I don't feel the same joy that I do when I am turned outward toward God and focused on Him. And I worship the Lord my God with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that is what I'm encouraging for you today. I know we don't all think the same way, and I'm totally fine with that. In fact, like I said, my friend that made that comment to me earlier today, I absolutely love conversations with people that don't necessarily think the same way as me, because I think this is how we learn how to grow and love each other, and we're not supposed to be in our own little cliques talking amongst ourselves about things that we already all agree upon. That doesn't change anything, it doesn't help anything, and I really don't think that's where we're supposed to spend all of our time. So I really appreciate you just for being here, for being willing to listen to this message, even if it doesn't connect with you. And I appreciate those of you who have even used that word on me, worship, because it triggered a lot of good thinking for me. And I know that you don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I take it as an appreciation, but just something to think about. And especially for those of us who really do want to worship God, that we remember that a lot of times we are worshiping things other than God without really realizing it. So I hope it gives you something to think about. First, we are going, or not first, we already did that, but now we're going to do the shoe review. So come on down closer. Okay, so interestingly, I was looking and these shoes did not have a brand name inside, nor did it have a brand name on the bottom. Let's look at the size though. There's a 6.5 on there. So that makes it a little tricky because I do not store my shoes with the box. And so trying to remember this in the future is going to be a little tricky for me. I do keep the box up in the attic, however. So I guess I could always pull it down. But so I'm not really sure why they didn't put the brand name on it. You would think they would want to advertise it. So I believe it's called Coleter, Coleter. Coleter was the brand name. Again, it's a 6.5. And these were sent by an anonymous friend. And let me see if I can find the note. Uh-oh, what did I do with the note? Oh, I bet it's in the box. Hold on. Okay, here it is. Wonderful are the feet who bring good news. So if you guys know my verse, beautiful are the feet of the one who brings good news, that was awfully sweet. So to say that with a pair of shoes, wow, very sweet. So what about the shoe? Okay, so they fit well. And sorry for my crazy looking veiny legs today. It's cold out there. So the shoe is, I don't know how many inches that heel is, but they do feel good across here. So sometimes if a shoe is too narrow, my this part of my foot will hurt a little bit, but these feel good. I do have a shoe stretcher in case I ever get a pair of shoes that's too tight across here, but these feel good. They kind of, from this angle, look like maybe they're a little too big because of this spacing, but they're not. They actually feel like they stay on really well. And so, yeah, I love the patent. I love the shade. It's kind of neutral blush, as I said earlier. And so, yeah, so they're a cute shoe, beautiful style. I love the more, well, I do like rounded toes too, but I like that pointy toe. And just a really classic pump. So very cute. Now, what would I wear these with? I could wear these to work. I could wear these with a lot of different things. Neutral goes with a lot. I would wear these to church. I would wear them on a date night. I mean, they pretty much, I could do it with anything. I can wear these with nylons or bare legs because of the closed toe and everything. I think these will stay on my foot with nylons. Sometimes if the shoe is a little too big, I really cannot keep the shoe on with the slippery nylon. So, but anyway, these I think I could wear them with. And so now I'm going to take a walk, and I will also show a few different outfits. And if you want to chime in with your vote at the end, I would love to hear from you. So let's go take a walk. All right, I left the sound on, so you're hearing a lot of my wind chimes. It is a really windy day out there, so I decided not to walk outside where it would be ultra noisy. So I am trying to walk carefully. These shoes do pitch you forward quite a bit, so you have to be kind of careful if you're trying not to dig your heels in. But sorry for all the background noise. Hopefully you don't mind. Actually, it's Amazing Grace is what my wind chimes play. So I love that. But all right, so here is a pair of, they're black pants. They kind of look like leggings, but, and a black dress. And of course the dress before that was the blue dress that I filmed the video in. But I think the heels go with all of these quite well. I would love to hear what you think. Which one do you like? And so here's the full outfit. This is the blue dress, the black pants, as if you needed me to explain this, and the black dress. Okay, so anyway, thanks for being with me today. Live your day on fire.